We read a story a couple of days ago that BBMP is going to bow down after 17 years, and in comes the Greater Bengaluru Governance Act. But then, the Act of 2024 has sparked major concerns about building safety as well as urban city planning. While the new law allows setback relaxations for residential and commercial buildings, critics and legal experts warn it could have far reaching consequences. The Greater Bengaluru Governance Act, recently passed with the Governor's assent, aims to reshape the city's urban rules, but several provisions are raising several alarms. For instance, one major concern, setbacks, which regulate the permitted size and height of buildings. Under the Act, now listen to this very carefully because it concerns you and I. Under the Act, residential buildings can now get up to 50% reductions in setbacks and commercial ones up to 25%. Now, many fear that the cutting down setbacks could compromise on privacy, also ventilation, also structural safety for adjacent neighboring properties. The BBMP has clarified that these are only enabling provisions for now and will not be implemented until the Apex Court vacates a stay order related to the Akrama Sakrama Act. However, legal experts warn that regularizing violations, especially before court clearance, opens the door for heavy misuse. Now, the Act empowers the BBMP Commissioner to regularize buildings that don't meet setback rules by collecting a regularization fee of 6 to 35% of the market value. While the money collected will fund civic amenities, many believe this move weakens Bengaluru's planning norms that could lead to a kind of haphazard urban growth. So, this is something which is concerning a lot of people, because is it a shortcut which is going to ultimately endanger the city's future tomorrow? Let me go across to the expert. Sandeep Aniruddhan, civic activist and convener, Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru, is joining us. The last time I spoke with Sandeep Aniruddhan, he said, this is a hogwash, it will not do anything. It's against the violation against 74th Amendment. There is no thought out policy on this. This has been his firm kind of stand on this BBMP being replaced by the Greater Bengaluru Act 2024. But as of now, there are little concerns. And I'm bringing this up, Sandeep Aniruddhan, because it concerns people. Let's take it step by step. Is that these changes, which is 50% reduction, commercial buildings and 25%, they say that this will compromise privacy and safety of neighboring properties. If I recall right, somewhere in Bengaluru, they were doing something with the foundation and this house fell. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember that very properly. Just elaborate on this. Privacy because of the reduction you feel and safety for adjacent buildings. Sandeep Aniruddhan.
Namaste, Sudha. Thanks for having me again.
Namaste.
Sudha, lastly, this entire debate is intellectual because if you casually drive around Bengaluru today, you'll find that nobody is respecting any building laws anymore. Buildings are literally pasted against each other. There is no setback. While the law amendment itself is ridiculous, asking for reduction in setback. Why do you have setbacks? It is so that buildings can get light and air. If you have walls pasted against each other, how do the people living in those buildings get air or light? How is it going to be healthy? It's impossible. But while this particular rule they are hoping to introduce is talking of a 25% to 50% reduction, in reality, people are already violating up to 90%. So it's basically a lame. The actual reality on the ground is so horrible already that the government should actually be working overtime to correct the mistakes that are happening. The Supreme Court has passed a very stern order in December, and it applies all India. And it has very clearly said illegal buildings of all kinds should not exist. They should not get power, they should not get water, they should not get sewage connections, and no
This
trade
new
licenses.
act, I mean, can we look at it as a fresh chapter? I know that there is a history and a very long and kind of bitter history so far as Bengaluru buildings. You said come and see all, I agree with you. Same is the case with the national capital and the NCR region. Same is the case in Mumbai, same is the case in Kolkata, everywhere. Of course, degrees will differ. But if you look at it, they say that the commissioner has the power, municipal commissioner has the power to regularize buildings that do not meet the setback requirements. Now, all along I have only heard about the corruption charges in BBMP. Now, if this is a very good move, let the commissioner say, setback, you cannot possibly do this. Don't you think this sounds the most ridiculous of the entire list, as it were, Sandeep Aniruddhan?
Sudha, if the whole point is to allow people to violate laws by paying money, why have those laws? These laws are not there because somebody wishes to have it. These conform to some livability conditions that will result out of construction. If you have buildings all pasted against each other, violating the FAR ratio, building as many floors as you want, and as you rightly mentioned, there was a building collapse in Babu Sahib Palya. What they were doing is they were violating everything. There was no setback. They had completely built till the edge of the site, and they had actually dug under the adjoining building. In
Right.
fact, there's another building which actually almost collapsed
Yeah.
because the adjoining site owner was digging under the neighbor's building because he wanted to build till the edge. As
Right.
a result, the neighboring building collapsed.
Yes,
Look at the amount of
yeah, it is
are
actually
doing.
tragic comic actually, Sandeep. People who watch my show and watch you, they've asked me, ask Sandeep, what is the way out? I said, Sandeep says all this is kind of not working. So what we need to do is to go back to the drawing board. Will the government, any government, BJP, JDS, Congress, will not allow. So this is how I think, we have to wish for the best, Sandeep Aniruddhan. Did I say it right, or am I being too cynical here?
So see, again and again, the bureaucrats and the politicians have been revealing what their true intent is.
Right.
You see, they moved a bill for premium FAR.
Yes.
Then there's an Akrama Sakrama bill which has been stayed by the Supreme Court forever. But the politicians, you talk to them, they'll say, no, ultimately it will come through the Akrama Sakrama. So we will allow all illegal buildings to happen because they will anyway be allowed by Akrama. I mean, that's the most ridiculous argument I ever hear. They're saying, okay, you all go and violate because in the future there will be a law which will allow it.
Right.
But then the whole point is, do they care about our city? How are people going to live in the city if it is a complete concrete slum with no conditions of livability?
Right.
These rules exist to make sure that the habitat is livable.
I know. That's what all of us want, but you sounded more cynical than me also. So I guess there has to be a kind of...
in the middle of the concrete
I know. Instead of passing rules and looking at, new things to do, I think they need to do a root canal. Only then things are going to move.